For example, stress. I say, I am not stressed. I never stress, right? I say, okay, there is a tool that measures actually the heart rate variability from the HeartMath Institute from New York. You can put a sensor on your finger and put a program on your computer and see your variability. And they tell you exactly, are you really relaxed? I did that experiment on my students, and I tell you, in electrical engineering students, most of them didn't pass the test.
Hey, it's Rocky. Welcome to Rich Your Soul. Today's guest is Dr. Pajunen, who will share her views on longevity and increasing health span. Imagine it's 12 months from now, and you've achieved your major life goals. How does it feel to be in the best shape of your life? To wake up energized, excited about the day? To have great relationships and friends who support you and propel you forward? How does it feel to have an excess of money, to be able to make the choices you want? To be fearless and open to trying new adventures? Imagine being connected to the universe and it providing everything you desire. It's possible over time, and your past does not dictate your future. The only thing holding you back from this vision is you. It's time to take control of our thoughts and use them to our advantage. Welcome to Rich Your Soul, where we achieve our dreams and bring balance to health, wealth, relationships, time, and spirituality. If you have not had a chance to listen to episodes 1 through 9, I encourage you to go back and listen to the framework behind Rich Your Soul and how to create the life of your dreams. You can also find all the show notes for this episode at richyoursoul.com. We may not be able to extend lifespan yet, but we can expand health span. How much longer we live while feeling and behaving young. That's our topic today. It's of interest to me because I want to age gracefully and be fully active well into my 70s, 80s, maybe even my 90s. And it's possible, but you have to start 20 to 30 years earlier to stay ahead of the curve. Our choices in life compound, so make sure they're compounding the way you want. Dr. Pajunen is a renowned biohacking coach. She not only knows natural ways to disrupt the downward spiral of declining health and improve the status quo, but also the newest ingestible supplements and wearable tech, along with AI tools. She's best known for turning back the clock, reversing the aging process. She works with high-performance athletes, successful entrepreneurs, and everyday folks who are tired of being tired and watching themselves get old. She makes us look young again. Let's meet her and see how. Welcome to Rich Your Soul, Dr. Pajunen. It's great to have you join us today.
I'm so happy to be here, and thank you so much for the invitation.
And I'm excited to learn from you. We always like to start at the beginning. What was it like when you were growing up, and how much did your family and school teach you about money?
That's an excellent question. Well, I was born in Warsaw, Poland, and which was under communistic regime at that time. So we didn't know much about money over there. And my both parents were lawyers, but the whole economy over there was completely different than in United States. So I knew one thing, that I have to get good education. And I have to learn somehow English, because without that, my door is closed. So I got very, very good grades at school. I got accepted to the top university, and I left to Finland. And then I got invited, after I did PhD in electrical engineering in automatic control systems in Finland. They invited me to United States to teach at university. So I knew how to how to make money working at university, right? And that was about it. And then I was able to buy a condo on the ocean in Florida. And my condo during few years from 300 something thousand went to 600,000 or 700,000. And I said, my God, I'm in the wrong field, because that type of money all my life at university I will never make. Even if I work for if I save all my money. So I said, maybe that's not a right thing to do. So on top of my university job, I was starting looking and learning about real estate, because that really get me attention. That how they get this money. And so I took courses. Of course, I don't believe with jumping into business or anything without learning about that. So I took courses from people, not at university courses, but from people who were practically investing in real estate. And they taught me a lot. And that was my first business that I started. As a matter of fact, I was already, when I was teaching at university, I already advised my students. I teach electrical engineering, right? But I advised my student, I said, listen, you should, on top of electrical engineering, you should learn a business, because this is how you have to know. First, you learn, you teach, you work for somebody else, but then try to open your own business, and you have to know something about it. So the students were asking me, and they said, which courses should we take? And I said, well, what about free enterprise course? I mean, that's a good one. So, and I called the professor who was teaching that course, and I said, so I understand that you already have a business of your own. And they said, no, we don't. I said, well, anybody in the business department, do you have a business of your own, or have ever had a business? No, we don't. So I said, well, how you can teach business course without any experience, you know? It is the same as teaching engineering without ever build anything, you know? So I just couldn't understand it. So this is how I knew that this is not the way to learn. You have to really be practical and get involved in something. At the same time, you learn theory as you apply it, and you get then a practical, guidance. So somebody can steer you when you make a mistake, because you will make mistakes. There is no question. And this is how I started with real estate, and I was pretty successful in that. And then it came 2008. Remember 2008, right?
Very well.
And everything collapsed. And I still didn't know enough because I didn't know that you cannot overextend. I didn't know that you have to never, ever mortgage your own property for investments. That you never, that was, I learned from mistakes. So I started all over again. And then I started this business. Of course, I had tenure at university, but I decided to move to health and wellness. I was not getting any younger. And that was a very, very good move, because I was able to apply it to my family and to myself, to reverse my age 14 years backwards, so I can enjoy my life to the fullest, and without any medications and any problems. And actually, I had problems with my lower back. I had problems with my neck. Everything finished, and I am able to live discomfort free and full of energy and traveling the world. And that's what I wish for everybody.
That's an interesting journey through a whole variety of different places, and kind of got you here. We've had a few people who've come from communist countries in the past on the show, and they've kind of said the same thing that you did. Money wasn't a thing in a communist country. And yet people will listen and go, "Oh, that must be nice." I don't know that it is.
Well, just imagine that. You go to work and you have to work. They force you to work. And the money that you make, you cannot pay for your expenses. There is no way. I'll give you an example. I graduated from the top university electronics department in Warsaw. They couldn't be any better. To get accepted there, you had to get straight A's, and then there was a huge competition to be accepted. Probably 10% of the people who apply were accepted. So you passed this competition, you graduated, which was not easy, not much harder than in US, believe me. And then you go and you try to get a job. I still remember they offered me 3,000 zlotys a month. And this would be not enough even to rent a room by your family. So, people have the salary from the job, but they have to figure out ways to make extra money from outside, because you had to support. But at the same time, what is excellent, because you had to develop those skills, how to make multiple sources of income. And now when you come here, we already can apply those skills, right? Because you had to learn them since you were very young. For example, when I was still in Poland as a student, I left for vacation to Finland for 4 months. I worked 2 jobs, of course, simple jobs. I saved all my money. And I brought back to Poland $10,000, where at that time people were making salary. The salary was about $300 a month. So it was a fortune, So, you have to, and a lot of students were doing that they were living and they could buy themselves a car, they could do whatever. So it was very strange, very, very strange. But you had to have open mind and not say, "Oh, poor me," but say how I can, okay, these are the circumstances, right? So how do I solve this problem? There is always a solution. When there is a problem, there always is a solution. You just have to find it. And university for me, I always tell to people, the real skill you learn when you go to work. But university will teach you how to think. At least in Poland they did. In United States it's a little different. I was fighting about this when I came here and started teaching, because here it's more memorization. You memorize. But at least in Poland there was learn to think. Here is a problem, you have to find a solution to the problem. And I think that is much better, developing problem solving ability.
And I concur with you. And kind of getting back to what you said earlier, in college, most of the professors haven't done anything. So they can't really teach business.
No.
They can't teach real estate. They can't teach entrepreneurship. And people are going to college these days for entrepreneurship. I'm like, why don't you just take that money and go start a business? You'll learn 10x more, right?
Yes, right. It's much better to learn from somebody who has done it.
Yes.
So this is what I have done. I looked for a person, and there was a person in Jacksonville, as a matter of fact, who was investing, was buying properties, was renovating them. And he was telling us exact the numbers, where to look for the property, how to renovate it, how to calculate the money. That was a practical information, which was fantastic. I learned so much. I applied this exactly what he said, and I was starting making money. That's it. But I still remember the first property. I was scared. I was afraid. Am I going to make it? You will be scared when you start something new. You will be
Yeah.
scared. You have to overcome it. You have
You
to
do.
overcome it. You have to overcome it. And
It takes time.
sometimes you fail, but don't take it personally. Don't take it like I failed in 2008 because everything collapsed. It's not only me. Many people did. Learn from that and move forward. Because whatever we learn from that time, we can apply and succeed again.
And that's very true.
Yeah, once you succeed once, you can succeed second time.
How did you come to do what you do now?
Well, that was a problem with my husband because he had problems with the shoulder. And again, he couldn't move this arm at all without the help of the other arm. And he was, especially at night, he was suffering tremendously. And the doctors told him that he needs joint replacement. Well, he asked, if he gets a joint replacement, is it possible then to water ski? Is it possible to lift weights? Is it possible to live normal life? And they said, absolutely not. So that means that he would have to give up all these activities which he loves. So he said, no, that is not what he's going to do. Okay. So, we were starting looking for alternative solution. And this actually came to our lab from our neighbor who was born with arthritis. She was coming from a very rich American family. She tried everything on the market possible, and she was unable to solve her problem. So finally, she found that patented nutraceutical that she started, and she was able to first started to walk after a very long time. So that was the very first time. And she came to my husband and she said, Alan, try that because this is the only thing that helps me. So my husband asked me to review clinical studies and to check it out. And he didn't believe it can help him. But in 3 months, he was able to move his arm. And in a year, he told me he has completely brand new shoulder. And the interesting thing is that was 14 years ago. Until today, he never had joint replacement. Till today, he feels like he has brand new shoulder.
Mm.
So I was very shocked about this, but after reviewing clinical studies, we recommend it. And at the beginning, I was really shocked because it worked for some people and then it didn't work for the others. And I didn't know why. So we had developed now the system, the whole system. So now I know exactly what we need to do so it works for everybody.
Mm.
And that was the involvement. That is the whole system. And that is so important for you guys to understand. It's not that you take a magic pill. It's not that you take a magic drink. You have to have the entire system and guidance, somebody who can guide you through the process, at least at the beginning, so that you can achieve your results.
And I'm guessing that's in the book. So let's chat about that. What inspired you to write the book, Biohacking, A Better Way to You?
Because since I was very young, I was fascinated with the ability of our brain and our body to achieve much more than we really are achieving. So what it means is optimize our performance. We are able to optimize biological function, physical, mental abilities. And I just wanted to know what is the whole system to do that. And also, this is part of the process so that when we optimize our performance and when we get the right supplements and the right lifestyle, our body can rebuild itself. and we can reverse aging. And this is proven, and this is science. So that's why I wrote the book. And also, it's very difficult. This book is reference book. It's not something that you read from beginning to the end. It's a reference. So that means, for example, you have to understand what's possible. And you have to understand, for example, if you have problems with the nutrition, how do you choose the right nutrition for yourself? Because everybody is different and you have to listen to your body. Or let's say a physical activity. What kind of physical activity is good for you? So there is a reference. And also everything what you do, you should have to track. You have to track your progress. Because if you measure and track your progress, so the simple way for a lot of people come to us who have problem with mobility. And the problems with mobility most of the time is coming from the generation of connective tissue. So what it means, that means that we are losing the main components of connective tissue and connective tissue start to degenerate. So the obvious solution is to replace in the body those components, or the best is to help your body to rebuild connective tissue, right? So what is connective tissue? How you can measure that you are starting rebuilding it? Well, do you know? The biggest organ in our body is skin. So if you take a picture of your skin, right? If your face or your skin, and then you zoom it, and then you follow the next month and next month and next month, and you zoom it and you see the quality of your skin is changing, that's also changing inside your body. So that's one, but there is many, like tracking and self-experimentation in chapter 10, there's how to collect the data. What are the tools you can collect? This was a simple example, right? But this is important. Or for example, stress. Many times I say, I am not stressed. I never stress, right? I say, okay, there is a tool that measures actually the heart rate variability from the HeartMath Institute from New York. You can put a sensor of your finger on your finger and put a program on your computer and see your variability. And they tell you exactly, are you really relaxed? I did that experiments on my students, and I tell you, in electrical engineering students, most of them didn't pass the test.
Yeah,
So
I haven't. I have the one that you put on your ear.
That's it. That's also.
Yeah.
You can put on a ear, you can put on your ear, you can put on your finger. They are different sensors. But anyhow, it measures the heart rate. And they process for the heart rate variability. And then from there, they get the information about your stress level. They are also phenomenal games. If you already play games on a computer, you can play the game without the mouse, only through your mind. You move to another room or something like this. So this might be very, very interesting. So that is interesting way to meditate.
And I also bought the Muse. So I have the Muse, which tells me how I'm kind of doing. I have the HRV monitor.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that every morning just to see baseline where I'm sitting. I don't think people understand heart rate variability because they think, oh, is that the change in my heart rate? And is it going up and down? But that's not what they're measuring.
No. They measure it, but then they have a system, they process it, and that they process that measurement, and they come out with the heart rate variability. So that's one of the parameters that comes out from the measurement of the heart rate. So it's not variability in a sense, but there is a process through the software so that that comes out as a heart rate variability. But simple way, for example, you are sitting on the somewhere, you see that you are nervous or somebody told you something that you don't like. What you do? You can react and get hurt yourself, or you can take a deep breath and take the breath in, hold the breath for 10, take it out and hold the breath. And after few that like that, then you can respond to that person. Then you are completely in other place, so to speak, in the zone, and that would be much better result.
Let's take a step back, because we were talking about university and how the professors don't actually know how to do what they're talking about. I think the same thing is true of doctors in the healthcare system. They're wonderful if you have a heart attack, right? They know how to fix a heart attack. You break your leg, they know how to fix your leg, right? For these acute things, they're wonderful. But I find very few doctors are going to sit down and tell you how to live longer.
No, the doctors are not trained, unless they train themselves. The doctors, the medical schools teach you about the medications, about the procedures, that's about it. And that's what they know. I was talking to a doctor about curcumin, for example. I said, you know what? I think that what that person has is a problem with inflammation. And for the inflammation, the best thing would be to give a curcumin because it doesn't have a side effect. Oh, I don't know how that works. Oh, no, this is 3,000 years of research. Come on. But, they are not taught unless they teach themselves. They know as much as we do or less. So, and it's difficult for them because they have so many regulations. They have so much work. They have to pass all those tests. I have a lot of friends who are doctors, medical doctors, and it's difficult for them because they have patients every 4 minutes. It's very difficult for them to sit down and talk to a patient that you have every 4 minutes. That's why I don't know how it is where you live, Rocky, but in Florida, we have concierge, and then you pay extra, and then you are in a concierge, and then the doctor will have time for you. But I still personally measure my biomarkers privately, because then I can measure whatever I want to measure. And then I bring it to him so that he can check. But most of the doctors are surprised that I am so old and I have no medication. I have no problems, no pain, no discomfort. And I used to have osteopenia. They already wanted to put me on medication. No osteopenia anymore. Perfect bones. So they even told me we never had a woman that old, because I was 74 this year, right? So they consider old, right? So I'm that old with this type of results, But it is possible for everybody. But you need to know what to do. So if you apply those things which in the book, and you get a guidance, like we guide people. It's not a long conversation. I sit with a person and say, what do you want to achieve? I tell you basically how to. And then we meet like on a regular, like every month, for even 15, 20, half an hour, whatever it's needed. But usually it's 15 minutes. We just check the points that they are moving in the right direction. You have to don't take too many supplements, because too many is not good either. And make sure they are absorbable, because a lot of things they are not. And you take it and the body doesn't know what to do with it.
I don't disagree with you at all. I have a concierge doctor who does my longevity care as well. And we have health insurance. I don't go through my health insurance. I don't go through the normal medical system. Pretty much everything we do is outside of acceptable medical care inside the system. And there are now ways to get the kind of care you want at a reasonable price, because I think for a while there, it was very hard to get certain things done without paying a fortune, and your insurance would deny it. And we have found ways to circumvent all of those systems, get medicines, get testing, get all of these different diagnostics done for a fraction of what the medical system would charge. And it's funny because my doctor's having me go for a heart checkup just to make sure that he's like, that's your number one risk, so let's get it off the table. It's costing me a third of what it would cost me with insurance. And that's just absurd. And most doctors wouldn't even send me for that. They're like, oh, until you have a heart attack, we're not going to do this. I'm like, this is crazy. I don't want to have a heart attack. I want to prevent a heart attack.
Exactly. But the prevention is a key.
Yes.
That's what I say, that people, that's why I am making the course now for the kids from 16 to 24, about all this. Because what you do when you are 20, it's not going to show up when you are 21. It is going to show up when you are 40, 50, 60, and so on. So you pay. So if you change and adjust your lifestyle and you adapt everything when you are 20, you never develop wrinkles. You never have problems with your joints. You never, you can enjoy your life to the end. So, but you have to know. I wish I knew when I was 20, but there was no information.
This episode of Richer Soul is sponsored by the Profit Answer Man podcast. If you're a business owner who wants to scale and grow, increase profits, or want to have strategic conversations around your financials, then check out the podcast. You'll learn how to work less, increase cash flow, increase profits, and build reserves to help you weather storms. It's built on the Profit First methodology of pay yourself first. The Profit Answer Man podcast is a must-listen to for every small business owner and anyone who wants to help them survive and thrive. Check it out on your favorite listening platform. So what is some of the things that you're telling a 20-year-old to do or to avoid at that age?
Well, basically something what's written in this book, so basically eat correctly, sleep correctly, exercise correctly, although we all, very difficult to say correctly because we all try to achieve something, right? It was exercises, but we pay for it later. But think differently and make sure that you understand that you are not a victim, that you create your life, your thoughts. You cannot fight something and say no to the universe because your universe brings you more of that. But you have to imagine what you want and laser focus on this, what you want, and then you can create it. And I know it for a fact, because since I was a small girl, I wanted to come to United States and succeed. And here I am, right? And that's very important. And one of the things, I don't know if you asked me before about hyaluronic acid.
I did not, and we can talk about that now.
Yes, because, a lot of people are buying hyaluronic acid supplements, which let's come back to why do we even need hyaluronic acid? What I said before, one of the reasons why we are aging is the generation of connective tissue, right? And connective tissue, I think and everybody knows, it's about 80% of our body. I mean, it's everywhere. It's connective tissue. It connects everything in your body, right? It's cardiovascular system. It's joints. It's your skin. It's your eyes, your gums, your hair. That's all made of, in big part of connective tissue. So once they start degenerating, we have all the problems. So what is the solution? The solution is rebuild it. So let's see what is built of. So three main components is collagen, hyaluronic acid, chondroitin sulfate, and other glycosaminoglycans. And until now, there was no way really to rebuild it. GMP labs from California discovered a natural source that actually is bioidentical to our connective tissue, especially in our joints, in our cartilage. Bioidentical, it means it has exactly the same components with exactly the same proportions, so our body understands it as its own. And they work 20 years research and development to optimize the size of the molecule so that our body can absorb it. Okay. So we have 95 to 98% absorption rate. So you have a drink that you drink, you keep it under your tongue, and it's going to get to your cells. Now, one of these components, a very important, is hyaluronic acid. Because many people, this is a buzzword today, take collagen. You probably have heard about this, right? Take collagen, take collagen. Well, collagen is just one of the components of this connective tissue. So if you take collagen, it's like, let me ask you a question, Rocky. Can you rebuild the house just from bricks? Right? You cannot. You need cement. And the cement is hyaluronic acid, something that connects those bricks. Now, it's the same like you make a cake. So collagen would be the flour. But can you make a cake with only flour? No, you need some other ingredients there. So that's the problem. So now a lot of people understand we need hyaluronic acid, but unfortunately, all the products on the market with hyaluronic acid, including cosmetics, which they add hyaluronic acid, have huge molecule, about 300 kilodaltons or more. The absorption rate is between 1.5 and 2.5. So it's like, can we push basketball through a fishing net? No, it can be only like a balls on top. And that's filler. This is the same, and the hyaluronic acid is in our joints. It's synovial fluid. That's hyaluronic acid. So imagine what happens when you degenerate connective tissue. It's like driving a car without an oil. How far you get? Okay. So once we supplement this, then we get hydration. Then finally, when you drink water, that water will hydrate your body. So this is extremely important. And we are drying out as we age, and we want to stop that process. So this is very, very, very important to supplement it, but with the right thing. And that's unfortunately, most things on the market do not work.
So how do we get it in a way that does work?
Well, once you get in touch with me, then I can tell you where you get that patented nutraceutical that you can drink, and we can set up the dosage. The reason is why I don't send you to the link to buy it, because I don't want it. I want to guide you with the right dosage, there are several different kinds of. So 15 minutes call, we tell you what you want. We set up something that you can take it and you are on your way. And we have for 14 years, we are working in that field with amazing success, with people who couldn't hold the glass of water winning the competition in weightlifting, people who were sitting on the wheelchairs who are getting up and walk and get back to work again, people who were 28 years with the back pain, they never had back pain anymore. But the one thing is, it's a process. It's about 3 to 6, sometimes 8 months process. So if you are ready for that, then you should start. If you just want a quick fix, well, maybe joint replacement is your way.
Was that a fix?
No, it's not, because imagine what was the problem. The problem was the generation of connective tissue. So how do you fix rebuild connective tissue with joint replacement? No, it's not a fix, but it's a patch.
One of the things I've learned on this whole journey, though, is that before you start doing all this, and there's nothing wrong with the supplements, you have to do the basic stuff. And I think you mentioned a little bit of it. You have to eat real food. And I think in the United States, finding real food is difficult.
Oh, absolutely. 90% of the food in the food market is not food.
Yeah, but even when you buy what you think is real food, it's been so altered that it becomes hard to even figure out what is and what isn't.
True. That's very true. We can do our best. That's all we can. And we have to listen to our body. Your body will tell you. But at least we try to do the organic. We try to do salmon. I eat salmon twice a day in different forms. And you rather, and for example, this drink, because it's bioidentical to our body, that's food, because it rebuilds your connective tissue. So think about like this. Why do we have to eat? We have to eat. Oh, we like to eat. Okay. But we have to eat because we need to rebuild our body. We have to give the body what it needs, and it can rebuild itself. And the body will tell you when there is a pain and you use painkillers, that's not good. Because the body, when you have a pain, that means your body says, help me, help me. So first we have to try to find the reason for that pain. And of course, if the pain is terrible, we have to use something to make it easier for ourselves, but try not to. Because we want to have a control, in a sense, if the body is really recovering. The body is communicating with us. And very often stress, you remember, stress is disconnecting your immune system completely. Lack of sleep, you don't clean a body, because the cleansing process or the lymphatic system works during night, and especially your brain. Curcumin is very good but have to be careful, because most curcumins are not absorbable. So we have to take the right one. There is a new one coming from Germany that they developed in Germany. It's a drops. And those drops are amazing because they are 277 times more absorbable. So they really work and help you to deal with inflammation. They help you to deal with, even for plaques, that's what one of the doctors said who examined that helps with Alzheimer's, to prevent that. So you can do a lot to help your body to rebuild itself. Because you know about those places in the world where people live to over 100 and they never
Yes.
sick. How it's possible? Are they super people? No, they have super lifestyles. But the problem is that they have had those lifestyles from the time they were born. So they never degenerated connective tissue. They never lost those components, such as hyaluronic acid, chondroitin, sulfate, or collagen, because they drop pretty radically, about 1 to 2% every single year. So they never drop that. But once we already drop it, you can't rebuild it from food or exercise alone. Now, the next thing is exercising. If you don't move at all, you roast. Basically you can't, we are made for movement. So even during I very often hear, but I work so much and I have no time. Well, take 10 minutes during break and do squats by your chair. That's already movement, right? Go for a quick walk. I was last week in a hotel in Las Vegas and we had the long corridors. Okay, we walk around these corridors a few times. Run. I just ran there, but I don't advise people to run, especially if they never ran before. But quickly walk and do this. I explain in my book about this HIIT exercise. So that means that interval exercise. You do it fast and then you rest, and then you do fast and rest, and that is saves your time and it's very effective. And the same food, you shouldn't eat that much.
And, it's funny because when you go to other countries, they don't. And I remember growing up in the United States, when you asked for a glass of orange juice, it was like 3 or 4 ounces.
That's right.
Now it's, a half gallon, the world changed.
And you shouldn't drink orange juice. You just grab for an orange.
Yeah, I agree with you. One of the other things you talk about, and we haven't really touched on, is nose breathing versus mouth breathing, and even just breath work in general.
Yes, because there are those exercises, especially at night. If you breathe through the nose, it's kind of relaxes more your brain than working from the mouth, and also exercises with the nose. That you inhale here, hold it, and then exhale through another part of the nose, and so on. So it's all explained here in the book, and also hormone optimization. That's another one, and your environment, how you set up with the place where you sit, and the air you breathe, how often you cleanse your ducts, because that's all influencing you. We have to reduce, we can't eliminate, but we have to reduce the toxins around us, the things we wash with, the shampoos, even the things you wash your dishes, everything. Look for the things that are no chemicals in it. So that's very, very important. And one of the chapters here is sleep optimization and why it is so important, and how to deal with problems when you have problems with falling asleep. What to change and how you can track your sleep quality, because sometimes you think, I slept whole night but I wake up tired. Well, you have to solve this problem. There can be many reasons. Can be food, can be environment, but most of this thing is, and one of the chapter here is like strategies for a better sleep. So what you can exactly do, and you can just, which one will apply for you. Because, but the quality of sleep is so important. We regenerate during the time when we sleep. So when you cut that, and I tried, Rocky, I tried to buy tapes because I thought I waste so much time on the sleeping. I could have so much money. I could have, at least if I sleep only 4 hours, then I had so much more time for whatever I want to do in life, because there's so many things I wanted to do. And it never worked. I bought those tapes, I tried, and now I understand why it doesn't, fortunately for me, that it never worked. I just have the good sleep, and then you wake up in the morning, and also when you sleep it's important, because a lot of us love, at least me, I love to sit in the evening and I still watch this video and I still watch this and I answer this, and I just love it. Unfortunately, it's not the same. If you go to sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning, or if you go to sleep at 10 o'clock in the evening. Those hours before midnight are those very important hours where you have the production of serotonin and other things, where you can get much better mood. So you can experiment with yourself and see, when you wake up in the morning, you go at 10 o'clock to sleep, or if you go at 1 in the morning to sleep. And when you wake up in the morning, how you feel.
And that's very true. And the other thing that you also have to watch as far as timing, and we didn't really touch on that, is when you eat food and the window for food.
Yes.
And also keeping that somewhat in line, because that's a big part of it too.
Yes.
Is making sure that you're not eating all the time, because that is not helpful.
Well, there was an experiment with mice. And there was a 2 group of mice. And they were given the same food, the same amount of calories, everything the same, except that one group of mice was eating anytime they wanted, and the other group of mice was eating only they given 1 or 2 hours they could eat. And guess what? These mice that ate during those 2 hours, they lived about twice longer. So, or maybe not twice, but much longer. So, and also for us, the intermediate fasting, that's what because of course, if you are very sick and you get under doctor control and you do the fasting, but I would not fast by myself. If I have to do it, I would do it with some control, with some medical control. But intermediate fasting is perfect because you just maybe don't eat 12 or 16 hours. So what it means that you eat twice a day. And for me, it's the most important. I skip the breakfast and I eat lunch and I eat dinner and nothing in between. That's important. Give your body time to rest. And this one is excellent if you want to reverse your aging. It's very, very good. So now people say, but I have to get breakfast. Okay. So if you have to eat breakfast, fine. So eat breakfast and maybe even eat 3 times a day, although I would do 2 times a day rather, but don't eat between meals. And also imagine what happens in your body. I sometimes look at people, with those big stomachs. Imagine and they eat most of the time. So imagine what happens. You put the food into digestive system and the food is starting digesting. But before it digests, you put another food there, which spoils. Make sense? So that create all this, poisons in your body. And also, if you do not rebuild your microbiome and you have a leaky gut, then that's another problem, that the food that is not digested or the medications or any other stuff that's supposed to be removed from your body, that actually leaks to your cardiovascular system. And through blood, it's going to be back to your body and it poisons your body. And then you don't feel good and you wonder why. Right? And we eat too much considering our lifestyle. We don't move that much, and you eat nonstop because food is everywhere, and especially sweets. That's poison. White sugar is poison, basically. So, and we should, if you eat, try to look into anti-inflammatory food, low glycemic food. You can Google low glycemic, and during those times where you eat, do the low glycemic. And if you want to lose weight, you can also contact us, because we have also things that can stimulate production. Your own body can produce GLP-1, which is a hormone that can help you, which, because Ozempic, it's so many side effects. So you rather go natural. And remember one thing, whatever comes from nature is the best, because we cannot improve nature. We cannot improve nature. Whatever comes from nature is the best.
And that is true. And people need to figure it out for themselves. There's a lot to learn. And as we kind of talked about earlier, you've got to find people who actually know how to do this versus the medical system that is more designed for something else. It's not designed for healthcare.
It's
And
not
we've talked
designed
about
from
that.
chronic. It's not
Yeah.
designed from chronic problems. It's designed only for emergency.
Correct.
And they are phenomenal for the emergency. But from chronic, they don't know. They don't know. And I tell you, I just had a person I talked to from Holland, and that's even worse over there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So yes, that's why we are here to guide you guys. You have to understand that also it's not what you take, but what your body can absorb. And take this into consideration, because there is a lot of supplements on the market that are not absorbable or very little absorbable. So they stay in your body and your body has to remove it. And it's a work. It's, if you put too many of them to your stomach, just imagine. So don't do that. Just test. That means I say rebuild connective tissue, remove inflammation, take care of your gut, maybe take care of your hormones if you have problems with menopause and so on, but not hormone replacement therapy, naturally. And then test, get your biomarkers, and we can figure out what is missing and supplement correctly with absorbable thing. And I tell you, liquids are much, much, much better than pills or capsules.
Mm.
So, and when you take probiotic, prebiotic, and postbiotic, because they also rebuild your walls, intestine walls, and rebuild your biome. So there is a lot what I'm just mentioning on the surface, and I don't want to confuse you, but I just want to tell you, those were the basics. So again, connective tissue, inflammation, your gut, and your hormones. If you take care of this, then the rest is test, which are other, things you are missing in your body, and supplement only that is missing. And then you exercise and implement this, what we have in the book, so that, you don't have to implement all of it, but you know what you are missing. That's why I wrote a chapter by chapter, so you can read only this chapter that you want. And there are references, about 500 references, so you can go as deep as you want to any topic which you might be interested in.
That sounds like a plan. People will have to check it out.
Yeah, thank you.
It's time to learn the secrets of life.
What's your secret to living an abundant life?
Enjoy every day of your life. That's my secret. So no matter what, remember, no matter what happens to you, everything has two ends, positive and negative. And we have free choice, and we can choose on which end we are focusing on. That's why they define successful life. And then when you help other people, the money will follow. I promise you. always, always, always happens. Just don't try to force anything. Let it be. Do good. Do from your heart, and the money will follow.
And that is true. What did you learn later in life that you wish you would have learned sooner?
This is what I wrote in my book. I wish I knew that when I was young. Because, especially about food and so on, because later on I had to reverse a lot of that stuff. I had problems with my back, which I was in pain for so many years. I had problems with inflammation. I had problems with my bones and other stuffs, even stress. I remember coming back from the lecture, and I couldn't even hear the birds singing because it was always the deadline. It was always next up, always in a hurry. You know this type of lifestyle. So I wish I knew how to relax. And from that relaxed point of, from the relaxed place, do everything much faster, much more efficient, and with much better success.
And that makes total sense. And I think I already know the answer to this question, but I'll ask it anyway. If you were to give an 18-year-old one specific piece of wisdom, what would it be?
First of all, imagine your future life, how it would like to be. Focus on that. Implement the right thing, because when you are 18 years old, whatever you do will show up later on in your life. So you have to understand that there is a price to pay for everything. So, think about it. If you want to go from point A to point B in your life, there is a path. And if you follow that path, you get there. You focus on positive. Don't get distracted. There is a lot of noise around, especially right now. Everybody's pulling you in a different direction. Don't worry what other people think about you. You are yourself very good who you are, and just develop the best version of yourself as you can. And biohacking is real. So you can optimize yourself. Imagine living the life from the place where you are optimized. That means your performance is optimized. Your mental health is optimized. Your biological health, everything is optimized. How the life can be. Okay. And don't be afraid to dream. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't let anybody to pull you in a scarcity mode. When I left Poland, I had only $10 in bicycle because the government didn't let me exchange more money. That was it. I didn't know anybody. I was not afraid. I just knew that I will find people who can help me to get started and move forward. And you can do too. You just tell yourself or start dreaming what life you want, and just imagine that you are already there, and just build it. The sky is the limit. That's why
it is
here. That's why we are here.
And I find that is a message that's much more prevalent in other countries sometimes than, at least not in the mainstream media here.
No.
But it's definitely true.
Oh,
you have your choice.
I mean, you cannot control people who are like that.
No.
In order to control people, you have to keep them in scarcity, isn't it?
Yes.
Get them afraid. Be afraid of this, be afraid of that, be afraid of something else. And then it's easy to control. But do you want to be controlled? Just ask yourself.
If people would like to learn more about you in the book, where can they find you?
The best thing is to go agereversingsecret.com. Just you will get some explanation of our system. And at the end of this, you can click and book a short call with me. And then we can talk about your goals and your dreams and what you want to achieve. And then we will see what is possible and what it requires, because everything is possible, but not everybody is willing to pay the price of, implementing that all into practice, right? So that's what we can talk about. So agereversingsecrets.com, and the book you can find on Amazon. So that is Biohacking A Way to a Better You. So again, it's a reference book. It's not a story. There are few examples in the book, but it's mainly reference. So you see what you want to improve in your life and you can implement that.
And we'll put links to all of that in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, this was so much pleasure. Thank you, Rocky. It was a bless. And I hope that was some type of contribution to your listeners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm spending my time and money focused on this topic, taking the right supplements, getting the right health care, not medical care through our current system, the right health care, and staying outside of traditional medicine to ensure that I'm in great shape, don't have diseases that are killing me inside that I don't even know about. I do everything from MRI tests to advanced blood work to taking supplements so I can ensure that I age gracefully and have a wonderful time. Look, there's a lot of bad products out there, and you've got to do your own research. Marketing is big in this space because the dollars spent are massive. You've got to be careful and pick your path wisely. That's the important thing. By the way, do you know someone who would like to live longer? Would you do me a favor? Share the episode with them. I think they might appreciate it. Next week, we're going to continue on this topic. We're going to talk about increasing your health span with Ashley Garcia. Check it out. Have a wonderful and restful, abundant week. We'll chat soon.